Alrighty. I'm about to do a battle review. I'm doing this Tajiri League gym battle thing, so I'm just trying to see if I could see some mistakes that I made already. Okay. I was fighting the grass type gym leader first, and I really thought that I don't know. I thought that I would have a better start than this. I should have anticipated the Tailwind Brave Bird. Volcarona didn't need to die there. I definitely remember that I did Icy Wind there. I was trying to see if I could get the slow downness. I try to get a speed boost or something on my side. I didn't know what to do here because he already had the speed advantage on me. So I thought if I could, do some neutralizing down, that I could get the upper hand. I guess I didn't realize he was already just continued to be locked into Brave Bird. But I could definitely see he was trying to avoid my Glamora. That meant he was definitely afraid of it, and it could be a threat later on. I did go for the Stealth Rocks here. I probably shouldn't have focused too much on Stealth Rocks, considering that this is a Grass type gym, but I still went for it anyway. I wanted to get that chip damage as much as I could. Now here comes the big threat. I didn't actually expect there to be a Kyogre on this team, but each of these gym battles had like a specific theme to go for it, right? I think all the gyms had some sort of weather balance or something that was initiated as part as their gym challenge. They also ran on regulation G, if I'm not mistaken. It was either G or I. But I actually gave myself a little bit of a handicap here. I really shouldn't have done that, but I did anyway. I actually restarted my entire journey for these gym battles for Tajiri. Now you're probably wondering, what do you mean by restart your journey? I mean like completely bare bones. Like I had nothing but a Bagon on my squad. It was level 5. And I was like, you know what? This is what I'm doing. I'm gonna catch random Pokemon and I'm gonna see if I could use them for these gym battles. Yeah, so the first one I had was that Salamence over there. I named her Fafnir. I already had a pretty good Salamence set beforehand, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna just use that knowledge and put on this Salamence here and see how it does. Unfortunately, I kinda underestimated the power of these Tajiri people, considering the fact that I came from my own Discord server, and a friend of mine told me about this group way back in MomoCon, so I thought it was a sorry. I thought it was I thought it was a pretty fun little thing, like, oh, we got our own Discord server. Oh, there are other Pokemon Discord servers. But all right, well, shoot, let's see if we can challenge their version of their league. I want to see what they got. Um, I didn't want it to be more of a test. I wanted this to be more of a let me see what I could do with my limited resources. And I don't want to say limited because each of my Pokemon brought something to the table, but I definitely could have done better here if I anticipated the Kyogre. Now, don't get me wrong, I did read the rules. They did have the option to have one Ops type on their team. Um, I just didn't expect the whole Kyogre. Granted, that does do a lot for his team, Definitely has that water support because of fire types. Definitely has coverage for flying types. What else? Bug types. I mean, there's some coverage for bug types. That Decidueye was definitely doing some damage earlier. Now, as you can see on my team, the only bug type I did have was my Volcarona, and that thing died in one shot. If I anticipated he was going straight into Volcarona, I could have swapped into Glamora and taken the hit, gotten my Stealth Rocks out the next turn, and red carded him, and also got Toxic Spikes on the ground. That would have helped a lot. Instead of me wasting time trying to set up turn 3, I'm just going to lay it out there. I've learned that you should not be setting up at least turn 3 unless your opponent is immobilized or they are planning to swap Pokemon. And I don't mean swap by U-turn, I don't mean swap by Baton Pass. I mean completely like they're immobilized. Like they're either immobilized by love, or they're, you know, paralyzed like Kyogre is right now, or if they're unable to act because they're confused. I feel like you're only in a position where you can do that, where you're also able to read if they're going to protect or detect, or Spiky Shield, or whatever protective moves there are. That's the only time I've learned that you should do any sort of setups. Here we go again with the Glamora. The thing that threw me off the most here was definitely the Ogerpon. I know that Kyogre was paralyzed. I still thought I had the upper hand because it was. Unfortunately, I didn't train up my Salamence in time for it to have the proper stats that it needed. That death really cost me the match. And it also put my other Pokemon at risk for no reason. Yeah, even though the Ivy Cudgel didn't really do like the job, like to finish it off, I still managed to get the Toxic Spikes out, and then I managed to pull the switch. Unfortunately, the switch ended up being his ace, that's Superior. I didn't know what it had in store, but I definitely knew about its ability Contrary. Contrary is pretty interesting, especially with the new Stellar Terra. If you guys didn't know, Stellar Terra, you know, lowers a stat after using, I think, what is it, Terra Blast, or I think it's, yeah, I think it's after using Terra Blast. But everyone knows as well that Leaf Storm also does lower special attack. If you do that, then Contrary will activate and it will boost its special instead of lowering it. I'm not gonna lie, I know I didn't want to quit, but I really should have called it quits here. As soon as that Superior terrestrialized and I saw that Kyogre on the field, I really should have thought twice. But leaving Noctowl to die like that just wasn't it. And there goes round 1. So I'm just gonna put this out there. The way that these Tajiri guys battle, and I don't know where this video is going. I don't know if it's just going to be on my YouTube channel, it's just going to be privated or what. But the way that Tajiri battles, it's a best 2 out of 3 for your gym battles, right? Gym leaders are allowed to have 1 Mon of their off type. Which means, like, for grass type gym leaders, for example. I know he has Ogerpon, which is a grass and water type with the Wellspring Mask, but he's allowed to have any at least 1 Pokemon on his team that does not have anything to do with the grass typing. I think that's kind of fair. I think that, you know, shakes things up a little bit, and I think the actual gym leaders of the game also did the same thing as well. The only difference is that they did end up terrestrializing with that Pokemon into the actual monotype. which did sometimes work in their favor, and sometimes because it's so easy to read, it didn't. But now we have the ability to use legendaries that could very well do some major damage if we're not careful. And because I was prepared this time, I told myself, I said, look, I don't want my Volcarona to die so early this time, so I thought I made a good switch. Unfortunately, he didn't read that. Well, he did read the switch, I'm sorry. I didn't read the fact that he was going to fake out in my Gudra. If I did, it might have been a little bit different. Okay, here comes that Tailwind again to get that speed. Rillaboom really didn't need that speed. I think the only reason why, you know, Tailwind still ended up being a better choice is one, because your teammates, you want them to be a little bit faster than your opponent in order to land those attacks, right? But at the same time, it does get kind of annoying when all you can do is just sit there and just expect them to win off of a speed victory. So here's what I try to do. I try to do my old, you know, poison technique. I really wanted to hinder some of the opponents because of the fact that they put that the grassy terrain on the field. Unfortunately, I can't freeze that Whimsicott. I do believe it has the Covert Cloak, so I can't really do any effect damage. Not really effect damage. I can't really have any lasting effects. Maybe perhaps a freeze or a poison, and I don't think Fake Out works either. Also, I just want to say thank you for bearing with me, guys. It's been a long time since I've done any sort of recording and or podcast like this. I'm still trying to get back in the flow of getting that all up together. I would have used my actual gym battle recording, but I, one, stopped talking halfway through, and two, I don't know, I was just going crazy at the fact that I was just getting beaten to death by a Kyogre. If you haven't been Origin Pulsed before, let me tell you, it is not fun. So here I go, I Terrasilize in this turn. I thought I could escape the Origin Pulse by at least surviving with a few HP, just so I could do more damage. But I don't know why I didn't think to Terrasilize my Volcarona. I had it set to a Grass Terror, and it definitely could have eaten that Origin Pulse, and it definitely could have, you know, gotten a special attack boost. And I should have prioritized that over anything else. But I guess I was still afraid of the fact that the Decidueye was still lurking out there, and it could come out of nowhere and snipe me with the Brave Bird. But this is really bad for me, because especially since he brought out that Rillaboom. With Fake Out and Grassy Glide, I really stood no chance. I'm gonna really give it to these Tajiri people. Like, you guys, I honestly underestimated you guys from the very beginning, and I realized my mistake after like my third gym battle. I definitely locked in for that one, my very first win. I know we'll see that in the next couple of videos to see up ahead, but I learned very early on that I needed to, depend on the rules to save my skin. I know I was very hardy in the fact that I didn't want to use any legends at all, because that's just not my style. I remember when I pulled up with Shadow Rider Calyrex in my server for the first time, and I was like, holy crap. I don't know why I didn't use this thing that often. I know in Sword and Shield like it was so much fun to use, but I totally abused its power in Scarlet and Violet, and the entire server hated me for it. I was like, maybe I'll put him on the back shelf. He'll be on one of my teams, but we don't have to get into this guy right now. So I put Shadow Rider on the shelf. I never used Zacian. I remember I caught it in the game in Sword and Shield, but after that I never really used it for real, except the battle with Hop. I never used Zacian at all. There really wasn't a need. I didn't really feel like using it. Um, I don't know. It was just a wolf with a sword in its mouth. That I thought it was a pretty cool design. And I remember when the trailers came out, and everyone wasn't really too happy about the rendering of the trees and whatnot. But I don't know. I just never felt like using a legendary. It's actually kind of funny seeing that Kyogre. It brought back a memory of mine. The very first Pokemon game, the main story game that I actually played was Pokemon Sapphire. And I remember we had to go to Sootopolis City and fight Kyogre or Groudon, depending on your version of the game. You just had to go inside that cave and, you know, either beat it or catch it, right? When I was a kid at the time, so I didn't really know that you could have caught a legendary. All I knew was that you had to fight the thing to save the world. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw a Pokeball at it, and it popped out immediately. I'm thinking, okay, well, I caught a ton of Pokemon already. The team that I have, you know, that's cool, but I can't catch this Kyogre. So I guess I have to defeat it. Knock the thing out with my Swampert. I realized like 5-7 years later that I could have gotten a Master Ball inside of Team Aqua's base. I could have caught the thing, and I was just like, there's no way I missed that. There's no way I missed that. Same thing with my next game after. I totally just like defeated Dialga, and I didn't catch it at all. The world was about to end. I had to do something. The first time I actually caught a legendary was Zekrom in Pokemon White, and that was that was a forced capture. I had to catch it. There's no other way to go around it. All that to say, I never really was too fond of using legendaries. I always thought they were beings to be respected in the games. I never really thought that, you know, your main character, a 10-year-old kid, was supposed to be wielding around, you know, Titan-like Pokemon with the abilities to change the weather or to restructure the course of history with a single lightning bolt or a flash flood. Yeah, that was too much. Enough of my dawdling, though. Let's get back to the battle. Right here, I think I was getting, well, beat like normal. There was not really much I could do here. I tear it into water again. Really bad idea, especially since I'm going into a grass gym to fight. But that Kyogre was getting on my nerves, and I really needed to chip that thing down with some poison. And I think all I had here were just 3 Pokemon left. I had Fafnir, the Pokemon I started this journey with, and a Fezandipiti in the back. I don't think there's any grassy terrain right now, so I thought I had an edge. Yeah, when Fafnir avoided that attack, I said there was no way. There was no way I avoided that attack. I said, okay, well shoot, Fafnir, you avoided the attack. Now let's see what you can do for real, because there's no way we're gonna get knocked out here. And then it knocked out of confusion, used U-turn, and I was still saved, thankfully. But the fact that my Fafnir was still kind of slow, it bothered me. I don't think he should have been that slow. But then again, it's like I said earlier, I didn't train some of these Pokemon for these teams. I just said, you know what, screw it. Let's just go into it. Let's pull it Ash Ketchum style. And let's see if we can beat these guys. Now, I will say this turn here that Ogerpon got thrown in, I was kind of happy because I one-hit KO'd it. Not really one hit. It was more like a multi-strike attack. But regardless of the matter, it came into the fight, lost some HP 2 more times, and lost some HP with that poison effect. So I think that was a pretty nice transitional win. And here we go with Mojo again. This Pokemon was very annoying. Now it has the ability to use Grassy Glide, which will definitely knock out Salamence. I had the stones on him. I had the poison on him. I'm thinking, man, I could definitely win this battle. I definitely could win this battle. But it looks like the game had other plans. I forgot I gave Fafnir Roar. There really wasn't a need for it. I just thought it'd be pretty cool if I could chain it with the yeah, if I could chain it with the Stealth Rocks and the Toxic Spikes. I thought that would be a really nice combo. But yeah, I took out the Rillaboom, and that Kyogre died next turn because of the poison. Yeah, at that point I was like, okay. Kyogre's down, Rillaboom's down. I think I'm in a good spot. Or so I thought. I still had a couple more Pokemon to deal with. Like that Decidueye. I haven't seen it all game. And then there was also that Superior. And now officially, I think I see everybody. The only issue is it's still just a 2-on-1. Just letting you guys know, getting jumped by 2 Pokemon on opposing sides, not really fun. Yeah, I really should have done better in this gym battle. I definitely made up for it the second time around though, but I don't know, looking at this just gives me a really weird pain in my chest. I shouldn't have let this get that far. There was never really a real reason for it to be like that. But yeah, there's that stat boost with the Terra Blast. Whenever you Stellar Terra, like I said earlier. That guy is Steven. Not Steven. What's it called? Decidueye. I was thinking Steven, the champion from Gen 3. That's what it felt like after fighting here. I was like, man, this is just the first gym leader. But if this is what they have to offer, I don't know what's in store for me. But yes, guys, that's the end of the first time I fought the grass type gym leader. I know this is a YouTube video, but you don't have to like, comment, or subscribe. It is what it is. If it gets posted on YouTube later on, then yeah, cool. If not, it's just going to be chilling here under the privates. But yeah, appreciate you guys. I'm going to have another video out soon. Bye.